Yes, that's right. Survivor Know-It-Alls is live here after episode number 2 of Survivor Season 30, and it was a strong episode, Stephen Fishbach.
I thought this was an amazing episode, Rob. I went into Tribal Council thinking it's either Nina or it's going to be Jen, and it was a third person. And what was awesome about this episode was that as soon as it happened, you knew what happened. You could make sense of it. So we're going to try to make sense of this episode tonight. We're going to try to make sense of the episode strategy, but I think from an editing and a storytelling perspective, this was such an awesome episode. I loved it. Like, truly did not know who was going home between two people, and then I was blindsided. I was #blindsided by the person who went, Vince.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised tonight. I really thought it was going to be Jen, and especially after they put in the piece about how I've been watching this show since it's 8, anything could happen.
Right, yeah, right.
I feel like I'm on TV. That was like classic. Okay, this is the
she's getting her little send-off.
Boot edit, and that was not the case. So, yeah, very exciting night and a fun season so far. And I have to say, I really feel like for the first time in a long time, 18 players on this season, I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on just about everybody in the season. I'd say about probably like 15 out of the 18 so far.
15. Even Hallie, I don't really totally get. And I feel like there's a few of the women on the blue-collar tribe that I'm not totally sure about yet. The one who's making all the baskets. All I know about her, she plays. And there's a third woman on the blue-collar tribe.
Kelly.
Who I don't think we've seen. Maybe.
She fought with Dan last week, so she had a little bit of something last week. Sierra really hasn't had too much so far. That's right. A couple of the women are a little underserved on the blue-collar tribe. But other than that, I think that just about everybody has at least something going on. And I'm very excited to talk about it. I know people are pumped up on Twitter tonight because people thought it was going to be one thing, and it wasn't, and that's what we like about Survivor.
Well, although interestingly, I said about a half hour in, I tweeted about a half hour in, who do you think is going to go home tonight? A lot of people said Vince. As soon as the actual wheeling and dealing started, everyone shifted their votes to Nina or Jen. But there was a moment in time early in the episode when people thought Vince was getting booted. So I was actually surprised by that because I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, the Vince thing did come out of nowhere a bit, and it really was probably born out of that conversation that Nina ended up having with Will, and we'll talk about that. And just the one line that sort of sticks out where Vince says to Will, "You're not going to blindside me, right?"
Oh yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is about this episode, this boot, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think literally every person on that tribe made a bad decision, which is rare. Like, you don't get everyone doing something wrong, and I think that actually happened this time.
Yeah, that's fair to say. All right, so let's just set up where we're at. Of course, tonight, Stephen Fishbach, we are 1 week out from our big live show. And, Stephen, we did our patron cast last night. Almost every single person calling in on the patron cast last night was like, oh, coming to the show tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Coming to the show, can't wait, coming to the show. I mean, it's going to be a packed house, Gotham Comedy Club, next Wednesday night. We will have the audio version of that podcast up hopefully by the time you go to work in the morning on Thursday. We'll have the audio version up. I'll work on a video version too. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. The video stuff, I'm not going to make any guarantees on that, but we'll work on it.
I got to say, you got I mean, it's a big room. It's in the big room, literally the big room. I'm not envious of your production challenges in getting a quality audio or video version up.
Yeah, well, we have some experts that are handling that. All I have to focus on is just keeping up with you that night, Stephen.
Oh my God! You mean? I hope you don't mean drink for drink, because
no, we know that you were going to definitely take that.
Taking work off on Thursday.
Know it all that night. Yes.
Yeah.
Stephen's the best. Know it all.
When it comes to drinking, yeah. And so we will see exactly how that's going to play out 1 week from tonight, next Wednesday night. So no live show next week, but it will still be a very fun podcast episode for you guys. Of course, we're live here on robhasawebsite.com. We got the chat room going. We're taking your questions and comments and tweets, #RHAP, plus also on our YouTube channel if you're watching us now live at robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. And if you're not watching us live, subscribe to that channel and get these videos every week.
Yeah, I mean, and just watch us live. Come on, what's wrong with you?
And
what do you got going on? What do you got going on right now?
People are busy. People have white collar.
9 p.m. on a Wednesday, you're fine. You can take some time out of your day.
People are busy. Stephen, and real quick before we get into this, we had some big news in Rob as a Podcast this week. Rob as a Podcast nominated for 2 big podcast award.
Yeah, this is huge. This is so cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much.
Huge.
This is huge. We needed it.
This is huge. I needed this.
Yes, because Robin's Podcast is nominated for Best Entertainment Podcast of the Year and People's Choice Podcast of the Year. One of 10 podcasts nominated for that honor. Daily voting is going on every day at podcastawards.com. So
daily voting means. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Daily voting means you can vote once a day, and I think once every 24-hour period you could vote for Rob as a Podcast in our 2 categories.
So, people, please, for the love of God, this Rob puts his blood, sweat, and tears into this podcast.
Don't beg. Don't beg.
I'm not begging. It's not me. It's not me. I'm just I'm ashamed if you're not voting every day.
Yeah, what will you do if we win, Stephen? What will you do?
I will shave your head. I'm willing to do that.
Wow, what an honor. All right, so Stephen's willing to shave my head, and we'll see if what my wife says about that. All right, so let's jump into this and talk about the No Collar tribe and what was going on here. Let's just start off, Stephen, splitting the vote here. Insane or bad idea?
So we sometimes disagree about this, actually, but in this case we are 100% simpatico. You're I know very anti-splitting the vote unless there's a really clear reason to. I'm a little bit more lenient on the vote split at an early stage. This seemed to me to be kind of nutty. There's no reason to even believe that Nina, and maybe Nina knows an idol is somewhere on the island. It doesn't look like we don't really see her off looking for an idol. It just feels like completely unnecessary for them to sort of overthink this. And the other thing that really bothered me about this is this quote from Joe where he says, well, Nina and Will spend a lot of time together, but hopefully Will vote for Nina. People who spend time together are not going to vote for each other, for the most part, So if you just think that, if you're hoping with that you're going to convince someone to vote for the person they're spending the most time with, you got to have more than that. You can't take that big a strategic risk this early in the game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That Joe said about Will is I have my doubts about him, but let's just split the vote and see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, through really, I don't know how much credit you want to give to the actual alliance of Joe, Haley, and Jen, Nina has this conversation with Will where she says to him, how's your health? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. Right. She's heard he's been diagnosed with something. And how are you doing? How are you holding up during all this? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, well, Vince is worried about you. And Will, I think, went, way overboard with his response to this. So I want to know from you, did Will make the right decision in your mind to blindside Vince?
This is a hard one, and I do wonder about this because if you hear someone is not only targeting you, but targeting you in this insidious way, maybe Will is insecure about his health, about his weight, about his challenge performance, and suddenly he's hearing people are gossiping about him, and not just people who could be his enemies, but the people he's considering kind of putting his neck out for. He's got a not that great alliance with Joe, but he's going over to Vince and ferrying information, and he's doing Vince a huge favor here. And then he hears Vince is talking crap about him. Not only is he worried about that, but he feels betrayed. And I think that's really the heart of it. You don't want anyone who's kind of impugning you, and you certainly don't want the allies that you're sticking your neck out for to be impugning you. So ultimately, it's not a great move for Will. It's not the right long-term move. But we know that having seen all of the confessionals, or some of the confessionals. I think it's not a terrible move, though.
No, it's probably not a terrible move. I did like the idea of voting out Jen. I felt like that was sort of the best of both worlds, where
that's the power move.
I felt like you take out Jen. Ultimately, sure, is Joe going to be mad at you? Yes, but you still are keeping the strong guys around and are able to avoid tribal council. And I really feel like the whole name of the game here in this first part of the game, this first 10 days, 12 days, whatever it is, just survive and get to the point where there's the tribe swap. Just get through this. And you get through this by avoiding tribal council. Keep the team strong. Will didn't really have anything going on with Jen outside of they were sandwich friends from last week.
Right.
I felt like you could have lost her. Instead, you lose Vince, and again, not the end of the world, but you're clearly number 4 in this grouping of 4. And if you go to a tribal council again, yeah, it's probably Nina. If you go to tribal council again, it's probably you, Will.
But he does have that buffer, right? He has that Nina buffer, and that's, I do think, a critical factor is that if he votes out Nina, which is the Joe Alliance plan, then he very well could be next. But by voting out Vince, he has this buffer of like, well, Nina is the obvious next choice.
But I think where it hurts him is that post-tribe swap, you had Vince, who was an ally, and now you've gotten rid of him. And now you have, I guess you have the other people that, the Joe, Haley, and Jen, I guess are somewhat allies still. But I felt like a guy who was loyal to you just went out of the game.
But, he didn't know that, right? Like, that's what it comes down to, is that ultimately, he hears Vince talking about alliances with him, but then he also knows for a fact that Vince is maligning him behind his back.
But
so,
did he have that conversation with Vince? Did he go and talk to him face to face?
But isn't like always the threat here that you don't trust the face-to-face conversation? If I hear from you, if I hear from like someone else, if Nicole tells me, hey, Rob has really been saying, your glasses are smeared with feces, and I go to you and I say, hey, Rob, I hear you saying my glasses are smeared with feces, and you're like, no, I don't,
But what about we have a really good conversation, though?
But, like, how can I ever trust that against the thing that I heard, from Nicole about my glasses?
Well, I should hope you trust what you hear from me rather than my wife. She's not the most reliable source.
But she's got no motivation here. You've got a motivation, which is you want me on your side. You want me podcasting with you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to like smooth over the thing. Like it's the fact that Nicole has no motivation. She's got no reason to tell me that. Like it's pure coming from her. So I think that's the issue here with Will, is that he's like the way Nina brings it up is probably the worst possible timing, where he says to Nina, we got it all figured out. We got this big blindside going. We're going to blindside Jen. And he just says, that's interesting. How's your health? Because Vince is worried about your health. Like, what? Not the right time.
Yeah, Nina was really bad tonight.
Yeah, I think Nina... What did you make of her blow-up? Can you defend her blow-up?
No, I cannot. I really... the big part of the game in Survivor is trying to keep your emotions in check. And now this is particularly familiar to me because I watched almost this identical scenario play out in Survivor the Amazon.
Oh, interesting.
The deaf castmate we had, Christy, and who also did not like the girls who got naked in Jenna and Heidi. I don't know what that is. It's like oil and water, deaf people and stripping people. There's very little overlap there. For whatever reason, they just don't like cats and dogs. They don't get along. And again, we see that same pattern emerge tonight. What maybe we saw Nina wanted to go skinny dipping with Jen and Haley on a night where it was almost like some sort of hedonism where everybody wanted to go skinny dipping tonight.
What? So this, I tweeted this earlier today. Well, during the episode, I guess. This was really the classic Seinfeldian paradox or dichotomy between good naked and bad naked.
Good naked and bad naked, right?
And good naked is Jen and Haley like taking a skinny dip, and bad naked is your history professor washing the pots and pans.
Yes. Yeah, I think that probably, and again, I'm not a guy who was ever naked on Survivor. Did you get naked? Did you ever do naked stuff on Survivor?
I don't think there was any time that I was ever naked. I took a shower once on a reward, and I even think then I wasn't naked.
Yeah, I feel like, you know what, you want to do what Max did, you want to do what Haley and Jen did, and it's like, okay, we're going to get naked and go in the ocean. Okay, that's fine. But at the point where you're going to, be doing chores naked, I think probably just, put the pants back on.
I gotta say, I was disappointed in Max, and I think maybe my frustration came out a little bit on Twitter because I've got such high expectations for him. I knew him before he started. I know he's a really, really smart guy. He knows the game incredibly well. He's he's an incredibly astute analyst of human behavior. And then when I see him stripping down in front of the whole tribe and like, hey, look at me, I'm the naked guy, I'm Richard Hatch, like, that's dumb. Like, that is just dumb. And I got a little bit upset about it because I feel like I really want him to do well. I really want him to make smart game decisions and to, A, be the guy to, like, draw attention to yourself in that way, and B, to make the comparison to Richard Hatch, which, like, you don't want to compare yourself to Richard Hatch in this game. You know, you don't want to compare yourself to someone who's notorious for being a backstabber and for being duplicitous. I got upset about that. I was sad.
Yeah. I would say that, you know, in the confessional, Max said about what he was doing tonight, well, this is definitely a strategic decision because I find that the other players leave me alone when I'm naked. And so strategically, when I want to have alone time, really, alone time is the last thing you want on Survivor.
I mean, we saw this with Aris and Blood versus Water. You never really want to be alone.
Yeah. Go back into the 49 laws of Survivor.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a fortress. Fortress seems good. Not good. You want to be with the people. You want to be mixing it up with all the other, like, hear what other people are thinking. You don't want to isolate yourself with your nudity.
When you're alone, they're talking about you, and that's especially true if you're alone because you're naked.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was a bonding thing for Tyler and Joaquin.
Yes.
So,
yes, that's the thing. That is the real danger. That's the danger. Is like you make a spectacle of yourself, and the other guys start talking about you and become closer to each other as a result.
So I'm not going to say that there's anything wrong with nudity, like nothing inherently, you know, problematic with getting naked.
Prudes. We're not prudes here.
When everybody wants to get naked, get naked. If everybody wants to like leave their clothes on, you know, if Max and Shireen, when they're alone, say, "Hey, this is such good bonding, and we're naked," that's fine. But you know, you saw that Tyler was uncomfortable. Joaquin didn't really want anything to do with it. So I mean, it doesn't kill you to, you know, keep your bathing suit on for a little bit.
And it's interesting because, like, that's sort of what you expect No Caller to be good at, is kind of finding consensus, right? In my mind, like, the Yahoo executive is going to be the one who's going to, like, see the reactions of the group and respond to them and be able to, like, build a tribe out of that. And Shireen could not have been more obtuse to how Tyler and Joaquin were feeling.
I will say that I really liked this episode, that I felt like in previous iterations of the three-tribe format, I feel like the show tries to give us like a little bit with each tribe in each act. Between like each commercial, whereas tonight I think what they were doing was, you know, they gave us the blue collar tribe in the cold open, but then they were spending like half of each section, each act of the show with one tribe and half with another tribe. So they weren't trying to service all three tribes for a beat between each commercial break. So I thought that actually ended up giving us bigger chunks where I feel like we got to see what was going on in each of the tribes in a little more detail than we did. I also am a big fan of no reward challenge in the second episode. I like to spend time with the players, and, you know, I don't care about a reward challenge early on this season.
Yeah, three tribes is a great format. No reward challenges is great early on. I agree. Reward challenges are fun when it kind of gets down to the nitty gritty and like people have to make difficult decisions about who they're taking, and that affects the game. It's not really as relevant when it's at this early in the game. Like, do we need to see like one tribe cavorting, you know, under a beautiful waterfall and eating a picnic while the other tribe doesn't do that? Nah, not really.
Never. We never need to see that.
I don't need to see anyone cavorting ever.
Let's talk about the blue-collar tribe. We haven't talked about them too much tonight. Of course, we had Dan, who Dan is not a popular guy in this group.
So what are you on the side of accident or on purpose?
I think I'm on the side of I think this was an accident. You know, I don't know exactly what happened. I'm not exactly sure how a wave takes off your Speedo, especially if it's a seemingly tight Speedo. Like, I could see it more with more of a loose-fitting type board shorts.
But his Speedo was presumably mostly off, right, is the idea, because he was doing his business?
Is that what was going on?
That's what I thought was happening, is that he was relieving himself in the waves, and then he got swept. They got swept off his leg.
Yeah. Wow. They were taken asunder. I would say, or how about this? I have a different conspiracy theory. Could there have been some sort of like marks that is like, oh boy, that's not coming out. All right, let me just throw him
God!
into
You think
the
it was
ocean.
like a Tarzan situation?
Yeah, like a Tarzan situation.
He didn't want it to be. He couldn't make the dirt excuse. He knew that that was a non-starter. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if it was for a strategic purpose, a la what Lindsay was saying, I think he would give that to us in the confessional and tell us like, man, I'm up the creek, so I better, try to do this. But if it was some sort of embarrassing incident that came up, then he would not say in confessional. He would stick to the story, stick to the plan.
Maybe it's an homage to Rupert. Like, Max was, referencing Hatch. Maybe Dan was referencing Rupert in his skirt.
All of the greats are getting name checked this season, and so we'll see. But now I thought that Mike did a bad job tonight. We talk about it.
Mike did a bad job.
Yeah, it's bad when Rodney is the voice of reason, and we talk about this season after season after season. When you're with workers, you work. When you're with people who want to goof off and play basketball, just play basketball. The firewood can wait, Mike.
Yeah. Every time I blog, I start my blog with a quote from a classic Survivor episode, and this time it's from Todd Herzog, who says, "I will do what everybody feels most comfortable doing. I don't care what that is." And I think that's like the exact right attitude. Just do what everyone else is doing, no matter what that is.
Okay. What if everybody is eating poison ivy?
Yeah, do it.
Do it. Oh my God.
But pretend you're eating poison ivy. Eat healthy ivy and pretend it's poisonous.
So, Stephen, what do you think? Should the blue collar tribe go to tribal council? Do you think that it is going to be Dan that goes home, or do you think that is Mike a target at this point?
I mean, Mike's definitely a target, right? You want to get rid of the guy who's annoying to you. The problem is that both Dan and Mike are kind of annoying. I think Dan performed really well in that challenge, and I think that's going to be the differentiating factor. If blue collar goes to tribal, who is it that's like more problematic in the challenge?
Yeah. What else?
Rodney's pretty well set up, right? Like we all agree, Rodney's in a good position right now.
What else did you notice from this episode in terms of these three tribes? Anything jump out at you?
Let's see. We got the nudity. We talked about the nudity across both tribes. We talked about the crazy vote. We talked about so let's talk about the one thing I do like. Did anyone make the right decision? Right. We agree that Joe, Haley, and Jen should not have wanted to split the vote.
Yeah, that was bad.
Vince obviously screwed up. Nina obviously screwed up. Did Will make the right decision? Did Will do something
Vince
right?
screw up? Did Vince
screw up? You're right. That is a good question. Did Vince screw up?
Of the 6 people in the tribe, I feel like the guy who went home probably played this the best strategically.
Yeah, because he thought, let's use this moment, blindside Jen, keep strength Joe, but take out his sort of right-hand lady. Vince actually, you're right, might have had the best strategy.
There you go. And Vince will be my guest on the Exit Interview podcast on Thursday. And I rarely say that the exit interviews are can't miss, but this might be a can't miss exit interview with Vince this week.
This is really, Vince leaving early, like, I felt like Vince was primed for
we got screwed.
We got screwed not just this season, but like every subsequent season of Vince. In my mind, like Vince is very much like Coach 1.0. He's completely unself-aware. He's vulnerable. He's a little bit egotistical. This season that we're destined, which is Vince, Coach, Philip, Rupert. Like we're getting. This might have deprived us of that.
No, I'm mad. I'm mad at this group that they voted out Vince this early because, with all due respect to Nina, who I'm sure is a very wonderful person, I feel like Vince was bringing a lot more to the table than she was for the rest of the season.
Nina was definitely like one of the few characters who we've met so far who, I would have been okay losing. No offense. No
offense to Nina, who I'm sure surely is a fantastic person, but
maybe
Vince was Vince.
But he was truly one of the greats. He had greatness written on him, and very sad to see him go so soon.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic to see more of him. I just loved when he was like looking for the acknowledgement from Joe and from the other people that were in the group. Like, the guy was going to be gold. Gold.
He was so desperate for approval, for validation. and willing to like act up, but also willing to really go to the wire. But the fact that he could also make a strategic decision, I think, is what sort of separates him from like those like true crazies. Is that he could say, I feel threatened by Joe. I think Joe is all these terrible things, but I'm keeping Joe around because I want to. I think he's really like necessary for the tribe right now.
Now, I just want to talk through this vote before we get to taking some questions from you guys. So the votes came in. It was 3 votes for Vince, 2 votes for Jen, 1 vote for Nina. Now, I want to make sure I have this right. So what they were supposed to do was the 2 women, they were voting for who?
The 2 women were going to vote for Vince.
Okay, the 2 women were going to vote for Vince. And then Joe and Will were supposed to vote for Nina because it was supposed to force a 2-2 tie. Now, Will ends up switching his vote. He doesn't vote for Nina like he's supposed to. He doesn't agree to the plan. Nina needs to go. He ends up switching to vote out Vince. Will this create problems for him with his allies that say, hey, what happened? I thought the plan, why we wanted to vote out Nina, who is not as good in the challenges as Vince does. Why did you go rogue and change the plan?
I mean, I think it will definitely create some trepidation, right? Like the one chance that you have to prove yourself as being reliable, as being trustworthy on Survivor is at Tribal Council, and this is your one opportunity. And this is, it doesn't even come every 3 days. It comes every 6 days. It comes every 12 days. And I would be nervous about someone like Will. I guess I would also be glad that he stuck with me. I would just treat him with a little bit more, they know that they need to be worried about him.
Yeah, because Nina is still around, and Nina was the person that they wanted to get rid of. And, it could be a thing where, if, I'm sure Jen is happy to see Vince go no matter what, but if Nina ends up costing them in a future challenge, then I think they end up saying, Will, why did you vote out Vince?
Yeah, and I think I'm sure they'll just be I think they all. I think we know that they all secretly or not secretly wanted Vince gone, so I think they won't be sad about it because they were worried about that decision, but. Yeah, I think it was just not there. I think that it's worrisome, right? Like whenever an ally does something unexpected, it's worrisome.
Yeah. So anybody really stand out? Who would you give the fishy to tonight?
There's no fishy tonight.
No
Rob.
fishy.
There's an anti-fishy. It's going to Nina. That's it.
That's it.
Who would you give a fishy to?
Who would I give a fishy to? Boy. Tough. That's tough. I would
Nobody was strategic tonight that we saw.
Not even to Will. Not even to Will.
I just don't think Will did the thing that was best in Will's long-term interest.
Took the game into his own hands. Yeah.
Do you think a little bit? But then he. Do
you think that Will is set up well here?
I know he's the 4th person in a 4-person alliance. He's not that. It's not a strong position to be in. Whereas with Vince and Nina. He was the glue. He's super tight with Nina, and he had.
I thought
Vince
Joe was the glue.
yeah.
Who is the glue, Fishbach?
I mean, Will was the glue. To be honest, poor Joe. I thought Vince said he was the glue, right?
Who is the glue?
Yeah. Will is the glue. Nobody's the glue anymore. There's no more glue.
Oh no! All the glue is gone. All right, we're gonna get into your questions, but first I want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast, and those are our friends over at NatureBox. Now, Stephen, I know you're a busy guy on the go, white collar guy, hard to find snacks that aren't gonna make you feel tired and sluggish. Am I correct?
This is a huge problem I have. Yes, this is a huge problem where like I don't want to eat, a muffin or like M&Ms. I mean, I do want to eat muffin.
Who's muffin? Right. So, you know what you could do, Stephen? Do what I do and get yourself a NatureBox. They send you fantastic, healthy snacks right to your door, and you could put them in your bag, take them with you on the go, and you're all set. NatureBox has none of the bad stuff that you don't want. No artificial flavors, no artificial colors, sweeteners, no grams of trans fat, no high fructose corn syrup. And you can pick out whatever you want. They'll send them to your door, and it's fantastic.
Can you give me some examples of the type of snacks they have?
Okay, how about some sriracha roasted cashews?
That actually sounds amazing.
Peanut butter nom noms. You get the dark cocoa almonds, Big Island pineapple, pistachio power clusters. So basically a bunch of stuff that's gonna, you don't have to go to candy, you don't have to go to cookies. Stuff that's gonna fill you up and make you feel good.
What? So is there a code? I'm going to sign up for this right now.
Yeah, go to naturebox.com/RHAP.
Okay,
You'll get a free trial box of 5 favorite snacks, and then you'll get to pick out 5 other packages of snacks that you want to have delivered to you month after month.
This is great. It says let's get snacking. Rob has a podcast listeners. That's me.
That's right.
Me.
I can't
believe it.
Yeah, you looked it up. There you go.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
Start your free trial right now. Go to naturebox.com/RHAP. You know you're going to snack. Get smart about it. Be the knowingest snack it all when you go to naturebox.com/RHAP. Get your free trial.
Twist the knife, Rob.
Yes. Yeah. All right. What happened to the trophy you were going to send me?
I'm going to give it to you next week.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a presentation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's not say a presentation. Let's say I'm going to give it to you.
All right. Fair enough. Whoa. Let's take our first question of the night, Stephen. Get us started with JJ Rules.
JJ Rules has to say, would you make a mantis? Mantis. Sorry, if you ripped your pants. I did rip my pants, and I had underpants on underneath them. Also, survivors, be strategic with your pants. If you are putting blue jeans into when production says send us the pants you're gonna wear, and you send them blue jeans, that's on you. You're an idiot.
Now, do you think that they really got into the dress code? I don't know how they do it now. If they really pick out what you're gonna wear.
I mean, obviously I haven't done it in 16 years, but it was pretty specific it was. But you also they're send us a wardrobe, send us an outfit that you would do something with, and
okay.
Yeah, but come on,
I don't know that well.
Don't send jeans.
Nick,
never send jeans.
Is there a history of tribes making fire for the first time after day 3 struggling a lot? Well, they got the flint at Tribal Council. So I think there's been a history.
That fire was a pretty poor fire, though. That was one of, even with flint, that was one of the worst fires that we've ever seen.
Yeah. How were you on the show, Stephen, with keeping the fire going and all sorts of these survival elements?
I got good, all right? I was not good to start, and then I became good. I was bad. The problem was I had real performance anxiety. Whenever I started to make it, all the cameras would come over, and there'd be 6 cameras trying to watch me make a flame, I mean, of course I couldn't get the flame up.
If we went camping, could you handle the fire?
Now I could, yeah.
Now you could. Okay.
Were you good at that? You're the fire.
Really. No, nobody ever let me. I never played with people that were I always was there with people that whoa, I got this. This is my bag here. I'm fine. No, I'm not gonna fight you to be the fire guy.
Yeah, I get it. You don't want to fight anyone to be the fire guy.
Yeah, if somebody wants it that badly, I'm never gonna force them off it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Let's go to another question. Mescat33. Anyone else surprised that Dan actually backed up his words of the challenge? Yeah, wasn't Dan really set up for the fall of hey, trust me, Jeff, I'm going to be good at this. I know I don't look like I'm going to be an athlete. But isn't that the Survivor 101 that that guy's going to be totally fall on his face?
Yeah, and Jeff made such a big deal about it. It's all right, Dan, going to take a risk, putting it all on the line.
We'll see.
And then he did. He was great.
Yeah, he did well. Okay. What about Kyle Bello?
He won that heat. He beat Vince and Tyler in that heat.
Okay.
Yeah. Kyle Bello wants to know, is the big twist this season going to be the return of the Outkast tribe? # bring back Vince.
No. Jeff Probst does not like the Outkast tribe.
I'm sorry, is there a big twist this season?
Yes, that they have said that there is going to be something that they're going to do this season. He said that Jeff has said there's something that we wanted to do for a long time, that we've talked about doing for a long time, that we got to do this season, and it works out really great. So there is a twist coming later. We don't know what that is, but no, it is not going to be the Outkast tribe. Wait,
is there speculation about what it is?
There's lots of speculation about what it could be, but nobody really has.
It's going to be with Boss and Rob, right? It's going to be.
Yes, Boss and Rob is going to tag in.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's right. Well,
Bring it in, Jeff. I'm ready.
Oh, I'm so curious what the big twist is.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe next Wednesday night. We'll see. Probably not for a little bit.
Live from Gotham Comedy Club.
Oh my God. Okay. Riot Maker wants to know: did Jeff seem to go overboard tonight on tribal questions for influence? I didn't think so.
I didn't think so either. There's been times when Hero versus Villains, when he was being like, Tribe, don't you want to keep Colby around because he's the best? That moment, I thought Jeff has maybe a little bit much, but this time I didn't see that actually.
If anything, I think that Will got a bad read at Tribal Council because Jen was like, yeah, well, there's obviously people that are bad in the challenges that you don't want to keep around. Didn't you feel like that Jen was talking about Will when she's talking about people that were bad in the challenges, and yet he still continued to vote with that group?
Well, he wasn't. It could have been Vince too, right? Vince doesn't perform well on challenges. I mean, the other thing is that
Vince is good at challenges.
Like we talked about, was he? But he wasn't great at the basketball thing.
Okay, well, nobody was great at the basketball thing.
Joaquin was great.
Joaquin was great. Yeah, nobody was great on the no collar tribe.
The only thing I'll say, it's somewhat related to what we were talking about last week, where these players are all so self-aware, right? And Jen even had that remark oh, we're not going to deny the three of us are close, where no one is an idiot here. Let's not be idiots about it. I feel like back in the day, at least when I was playing, in the ancient times, people would have been like, no, we're all close, we're all a tribe together. I mean, you would try to deny that.
Yeah, the game has changed. The game has changed, Stephen.
The game is flawed.
All right, what does Jeremy have to say?
Jeremy wants to know, is Nina the main person to blame for Vince's downfall? Would Will have switched his vote if Nina didn't tell him about Vince being concerned for his health?
Stephen, is Nina the main person to blame?
Yes.
Yeah, most definitely, right? Unless there's something we didn't see.
No
but
question.
Based on what we saw,
yeah.
She's definitely the person to blame.
We only can comment on the show that we see on television.
Yes. If I was Vince, I would not be happy with Nina.
Yeah. Nina is entirely to blame, and otherwise Will would have won the game.
All right.
Unequivocally.
A question from Johnny. Am I the only person rooting for Dan? He's a great character, and he seems like he knows some about the game, although he made a lot of mistakes through the first 3 days. 6 days.
He is a good character. He's got a lot of heart. There's something charming about him, right?
Yeah, I'm not rooting against Dan, but
yeah.
I got to go by what my eyes are telling me that Dan is pretty screwed here.
Who are you rooting for? Who are your favorites at this point?
Boy, I would say just about. I don't like to get too much into who I'm rooting for, Stephen.
Right.
But I mean I don't have a ton of opinions on oh, I really want this person to win, I just want to see a good game.
Oh my gosh, totally bowing out. What a dodge! What an evasion!
It makes it's free.
Put it on the line, Rob. Who's got the winner's edit? Who's got the winner's edit, Rob?
Who's got the winner's edit? That's
we got the trophy. We got this trophy right here. This knowing is knowing all.
Based on winner's edit, I still like what Tyler is showing us.
I like Tyler too.
Yeah, I like that he's sort of commenting on what's going on.
Tyler and Sherilyn, they look pretty good.
Sherilyn.
Yeah, that's what old Keen called Carolyn.
Yes.
Noah B wants to know: do you think Joe will be angry with Will for voting Vince out? After all, they all agreed, was the target. Well, we talked a little bit about this, Rob. What do you think? You think Joe's going to come back to Tribe angry?
No, because I don't think that Joe's an angry guy.
Yeah, he's at peace.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like, okay, well, I guess we voted out Vince. I think it's going to be sort of like, well, whatever. I think it's going to be sort of like just roll off his back. And again, what can you do at this point?
What can you do?
What can you do? Jordan Zielinski says, is the 3-tribe Survivor a tougher game? You have a lot less room to hide. I wouldn't say that it's a tougher game, but I think it is a lot more luck can happen in the early going.
Oh, I would totally say it's tougher. I think that with a tribe of 8 or a tribe of 10, you can coast a little bit. There's someone who's super weak. There's someone who's super annoying. You look at this tribe of 6. Well, there was someone who was super weak and super annoying, and she didn't go home. But for the most part, it's harder. It's harder to be the one. To like last week, So goes home. So was a really strong competitor. I think there's less of a wiggle room.
Yeah, this part is, again, I don't know if hard is the right word, but
Right.
It's like it's a lot of variance, I think, with the first part of the game here. And then I think that the second part of the game, like, I wouldn't say that is necessarily harder than, the tribe swap part of the game. It's, you can sort of just, figure out where your game starts once you get to day 12. This is really just, it's a rodeo. Hold on. And luckily we have a rodeo person.
Yeah, you gotta, and she's blue collar, right?
Yeah.
Mark Price wants to know: is it ever too early to vote out someone who's gunning for you, even if they are a physical asset? It's a good question. This is the fundamental question for tonight, right? Is it too early to target the person who is your enemy if they are an asset to the tribe?
It's never too early to vote out the person who is gunning for you. I mean, there's no such thing as too early. This person is coming after me. I took them out. You just gotta, again, it's survival at that point. It's, self-defense. I have to take this person out. They're coming after me. Now, if it's the person who's not necessarily coming after you, but you're having friction with, I think there could be too early for that. But if the person is coming after you, not too early to take them out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on what, like, you're right. Like, what the question, like, what does coming after mean? Is it just like a little bit of tension, or is it like actual targeting? And if it's actual targeting, you do want them out. And that's maybe what Will thought was happening with Vince.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is paranoid, right? Everyone is paranoid, and everyone thinks they're the center of attention. So you're not surprised when you hear everybody else is talking about you, and you think, "Oh my God, they're all scheming on me. I gotta make a move now," because you think that you're the center of the universe.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Laser Dude 99 with a lot of people on the outs on all the tribes. What on earth is this switch going to look like?
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to look glorious.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see what that happens. I always like the switch in a regular season. 3 tribes should be very fun, and hopefully we won't have where just one whole tribe stays together and then just a couple people get added to it, like in Cagayan. But that worked out fine too.
Yeah, that was great. Okay. It's a great show. It's a great show. No matter what happens, it's going to be great, except for last season.
You know what? I think what's going to be fun here is I don't think we're going to have one tribe that totally sucks like we've had in the previous seasons with 3 tribes, where it was Saboga was the tribe that totally sucked, except for Jerry Manthe. Then you had in Survivor Philippines Matt Singh.
Matt Singh.
And then you had the Cagayan, the Brains tribe totally sucked. I don't think we're going to have a tribe that just totally wipes out.
It's fun to see a tribe totally suck, but I agree with you that this might also be interesting, where they're all kind of good.
Yeah. Okay. Edward Morris.
Coral Fanatic. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Edward Morris says, "Who's the better shooter, Uncle Cliffy or Joaquin?"
I don't know. Uncle Cliffy.
I don't think Joaquin is going to the NBA anytime soon.
I mean, Uncle Cliffy came back from a deficit against Spencer.
Yes. And Spencer
has 0 chance of winning this game.
Yeah, because he went up against Uncle Cliffy.
Mr. Survivor.
Mr. Survivor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jay China 209 wants to know: am I the only person who did not understand why the threesome of Joe, Jen, and Hallie tried to split a vote? If Will hadn't gone with them, they would have lost Jen. It would have made more sense to potentially have a tie.
Or put 4 votes on somebody. If you think you have Will, put 4 votes. If you're not sure about Will, then the worst case scenario is that you have a 3-3 tie.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Will and Nina and Vince group was thinking if they weren't going to split the votes. That they were like, oh, okay, well, we got to put our 3 on those guys. I feel like they were willing to go to a tie.
Yeah. I think you're like me, Rob, where you want to have the numbers. Sure. You don't want to be like, maybe he's with us. Yeah, why not? Let's roll the dice.
I want to have the numbers.
Yeah, you want the numbers, and you want to win the game.
Yeah.
And that way we're similar.
Yes. Because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we're unsatisfied. All right, let's do 2 more questions, and then that's it. All right. Rachel Lehman says, is anyone on the No Collar Tribe capable of winning?
Yeah, I think Jen and Joe are capable of winning, especially Jen.
Yes. You are not off the Jen bandwagon after she almost got voted off tonight.
I mean, I thought she came off great. She almost got voted off, and she looked like a charm ball doing it.
Like a what? A charm ball?
Yeah, like a ball of charm.
Okay. That's a new
You're
one.
a charm ball. You're a charm ball.
Oh, thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, give us the last question of the night.
Last question of the night. Johnny Horseman wants to know, did Dan, my favorite this season, fully redeem himself in this episode, or does he still have some work to do?
Stephen.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
I still have some work to do. You know,
yeah,
one challenge
what do we
victory.
do? He did one leg in the challenge. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
You got work to
They
do.
came in second. You know, they didn't even win.
Yes. All right. Stephen Fishbach, tomorrow on the podcast,
Yeah.
I am going to be speaking with the great Chaos Cass. And she will tell us her take on what's going on. Because if there's one thing she knows, it's what goes on in the 3-collar or 3-tribe season. I'm very interested to hear what Chaos Cass has to say. Yes. Plus, I will be taking your voicemails with my good friend and amazing race correspondent, Jessica Leese.
She knows.
She knows what's going on. And if you want to get your voicemails into the show, send us your voicemails at robhasawebsite.com/voicemail or 323-282-RHAP, Stephen.
Is she going to be at the live know-it-alls?
Of course she's going to be at the live know-it-alls.
Oh, great. Is
Yes.
Wiggler going to be there?
Yes. It's his birthday, too.
No way!
Yes. It's going to be
wow,
a who's who of Rob Has a Planet 1 week from tonight.
Can you tell us who some of the special guests will be?
No, it's one, that people flake out, and then
yeah, exactly.
But two, too many to count. Too many
to count.
Yes, trying to get some of your buddies from the city to come on out.
You know what? Let me. I'll make some calls.
Make some calls. All right.
I'll make some calls.
All right, so be sure to check out Stephen Fishbach's People blog. You could follow Stephen on Twitter. He'll be sure to have the link for you guys at Stephen Fishbach.
At Stephen Fishbach.
Yes. Stephen and I, of course, next week will be live. So no live show. We'll be live in person at Gotham Comedy Club, but no live show on YouTube next Wednesday night. So sorry about that for the people that aren't going to be there, but the people that are going to be there, you're in for a treat. But for the rest of you guys, you're in for a treat because that show's going to be up on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast. Go to robhasawebsite.com/iTunes or click the podcast tab on robhasawebsite.com.
And vote for Rob daily vote. This is the guy who gives us so much entertainment.
Well, let's not get carried away, Stephen. But yeah, I do make a lot of shows. I do make a lot of shows. And if you want to vote daily, you could vote once per day.
Create fake accounts and vote multiple times.
No.
I'm sorry. I apologize. We're not. We want to win. You should win the
fair and square. Fair and square, Stephen. Go to podcastawards.com for People's Choice Award and the Best Entertainment Podcast of the Year. And Stephen Fishbach, thank you so much.
Hey, it was my pleasure.
Yes. Great job, everybody. Thanks so much, Scott St. Pierre. And thanks, everybody who checked us out live or also in the archives. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Saeed.